2023 really has been the year of Mappa Studio. I mean, think about how crazy this is. Over the span of 2 years, we got Chainsaw Man, Hell's Paradise, Vinland Saga Season 2, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, and the finale of Attack on Titan. Because of this insane year from Mappa, and really to honor the end of an era that is Attack on Titan, I thought it would be fun to rank every single Mappa anime. Okay, maybe not every single one, but most of them. We got our tier list here. We went our traditional tier list format, S, A, B, C, and D. We got our list of Mappa anime here. Again, if I did not include your favorite Mappa anime, I am sorry. I included most of them though, and I imagine that the ones that I didn't include, most people haven't even seen. As always, these tier lists are just my opinion, so if I ranked your favorite Mappa anime lower than you think, then please let me know in the comment section down below. Just a note, I'm going to be doing my best to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. Just a note about Mappa Studio before we begin. Mappa Studio in the anime production studio world is a surprisingly pretty young studio. It was founded in 2011 by the former co-creator of Madhouse Studios, a studio that has been around since like the 1950s. In general, Mappa has like made a name for itself because of its insane standard of art of animation. In general, a Mappa animation and Mappa anime will have a certain level of like artistic beauty, a certain standard that I would say is higher than most other anime. In general, basically like every single anime we're going to talk about here on this tier list like is aesthetically very pleasing. They're not really going to get marks for like bad animation. The animation is always good. Sometimes it's insanely good. However, a common critique for Mappa animations is that they are all style, no substance. That while the animations are great, it comes at a cost of like good story adaptations. In general, yes, there are Mappa anime that suffer from this all style, no substance, but we're going to get into those later. And in general, yes, I will say that sometimes the anime fan base has a tendency to overhype anime, especially Mappa anime. With all that being said though, let's get started with probably maybe one of the biggest dumpster fires on this tier list, Yasuke. If you watched my samurai anime tier list, you'll know that this anime is an absolute dumpster fire, and I actually didn't even know that it was made by Mappa Studio, because it's a Netflix original. Yasuke is kind of a historical fantasy anime following a black samurai in Japan, and had it just stuck to its core as a historical fantasy, this anime could have been pretty solid. However though, Yasuke struggles from not knowing what exactly it wants to be, as like very early on in the show, it suddenly takes a turn from historical anime to like weird sci-fi, like power fantasy trope. In general, this anime is a clusterfuck, and had it just stuck with the historical fantasy genre, I think it could have been alright. Next up, we have one of the big major hitters for this tier list, Chainsaw Man, one of the 3 Mappa dark shonen with Jujutsu Kaisen, Hell's Paradise, and Chainsaw Man. For me, I think Chainsaw Man has to instantly go into S. I absolutely love this manga. The manga itself is like absolutely breathtaking. It is dark, it is gritty, it is a kind of new breed of shonen that I absolutely love, and I think that there was only a few animation studios that could have done the art style of Chainsaw Man justice, and I think that Mappa did a really good job here. I think out of their 3 dark shonens, this one is by far my favorite in my opinion. I just love this story. It is gritty, it is real, it will make you feel things in ways that many other shonens try to but just fail. Yeah, Chainsaw Man's amazing. Go watch Chainsaw Man, guys. Next up, we have one of maybe the more obscure Mappa anime, Altair, A Record of Battles. This is a very unique take on a historical, like, war battle anime, as it focuses less on, like, the actual battles and the tactics of the war in this world, but more on the behind-the-scenes kind of political dealings of the war and stuff like economics and trading, but in a war setting. I actually really enjoy this show. I'm a kind of like historical politics war nerd, and so I love this genre of anime, and I appreciate the very unique spin on this genre. For me, I really enjoyed this. I would recommend it for people who like this genre of anime. It's not for everyone though. The art style is great, the music is pretty solid, the voice actors are good. Ultimately, I think this show is pretty solid, and I'm gonna throw it in B tier. Oh god, this fucking show. Campfire Cooking in Another World. aka another isekai trash. So if you watch any of my anime videos, you know that I've had enough when it comes to isekai, especially in 2023. If you're going to do an isekai anime now in 2023, 2024, you have to do something unique, you have to do something novel, because this genre is so oversaturated, and I've just had enough of it. On its surface, it seemed like maybe Campfire Cooking from Another World with my absurd skill, god, that's such a shit name, was going to be able to do this by focusing more on, like, kind of being a cooking anime that just happens to be an isekai. But it just falls flat, man. It's got to go D tier for me. Next up, we have Danseur, a very unique anime, a dance, romance, ballet anime, which I guess technically counts as a sports anime. Now, normally this isn't my cup of tea. This is definitely not a sort of anime that I would normally find myself gravitating towards. I will say, though, that I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this show. It does a lot of things that I really enjoy about kind of like sports-esque animes. I felt like I learned a ton about ballet. I felt like I was actually genuinely invested into the characters and even the romance and the kind of, trio romance that's going on in the story. There are some problems with it, for sure. There are some things that I felt like it kind of fell flat a little bit, especially in kind of the story and how the story is resolved. But overall, a really solid anime, an anime that I genuinely didn't think that I was going to like as much as I did. And I think I'm going to throw it into B. As well, visually, very, very solid. I mean, it's a Mappa anime. All of these are going to visually look great. But yeah, this one pretty solid, especially in terms of the animation. Next up, we have Banana Fish, a remake of a classic anime from the 80s. Now, this has one of the highest My Anime List scores of any of the anime that we're ranking here, with an 8.48, I believe, if that's something that you care about. And yeah, this anime is pretty insane. The anime follows the story of Ash Lynx, a runaway picked off the streets of New York City and raised by an infamous godfather in the mafia. Now, instantly, this is a very unique concept of an anime. One, it takes place in America and features a lot of American characters with kind of like American themes. So instantly, I was drawn into it because of that. As well, it is dark and gritty. It has a lot of really interesting, unique themes in it. It does have some questionable adult themes that I will say, and some of them are really kind of rough to watch. I think this might be a kind of product of its time, of when this original manga was written, like I said, in the 70s and 80s. Overall, though, this anime is very good. I see why it is very highly ranked. I think I'm going to put it in A tier for now. I might even move it to S tier by all things said and done. As well, there is some Yuri romance, some MXM action that goes on in the anime. Though I wouldn't call this like a Yuri anime by any means. It's more of a romance that just kind of happens to exist within the greater context of the story. Ultimately, very unique anime, a classic, a remake of a classic. Visually very appealing. The story is really solid, and I really love the unique American kind of setting aspects of it. It goes into A tier for now. Next up, the second of our dark three of our Mappa anime shonen, Hell's Paradise. Now, this anime is solid. If you watched my Samurai ranking tier list, you'll know that I didn't rank this as highly as maybe a lot of other people might. I do think that it is good. I think that it is the worst of the three Mappa dark shonens. Aesthetically, it's great. I think where it falls short is in some of the story kind of character development. In general, I feel like Hell's Paradise like fails to do what like Chainsaw Man and even JJK do well. It tries to do all of these kind of edgy, dark kind of themes that these anime have, and a lot of characters are going to die. I think I just found myself just not caring. I just wasn't as invested. It felt almost like this anime was like a kind of like trope fest, a character-esque trope fest of like other anime, other manga that just do what this is trying to do, much better. Again, I'm sorry if this is like your favorite anime and I shit on it. I still think it's good. I mean, visually, it's great, and I do like a lot of the themes and enjoy the characters and enjoy the fight scenes. But, like, when you compare it, in my opinion, to like other anime that like are in the same kind of genre that try to do the same kind of things, it just kind of falls flat. Maybe I'll rewatch it again and see if I change my mind and opinion. Who knows? Maybe I'm completely wrong about this show. Next up, we have Dorohedoro, one of the biggest surprises of like 2021, I think, 2022, whenever this came out. Anyway, this anime was like a very big surprise for me. It's very, very good. The show follows our main character, Cayman, a lizard man who has been cursed to look this way, on his search for answers in this amazingly unique, like, post-apocalyptic kind of fantasy world called Whole. The show is dark, it's gritty, it's hilarious. It's one of my favorite, like, unique worlds in, like, any anime ever. I absolutely love this setting, and I love the vibe that this anime gives off. Again, it suffers from some of the other problems that maybe other Mappa anime suffered for. People don't like the CGI. Personally, this doesn't really bother me, and I think that this anime was really a major surprise, and I think that a lot of other people, like, feel this way. I will say that I think one of the biggest criticisms you can make for this anime is sometimes it feels like the consequences don't matter. If you've seen this first season, you'll know what I'm talking about, but sometimes in this show, it does feel like consequences happen to characters that ultimately just, like, yeah, I don't know, just ultimately just, like, don't really feel like they matter, and at the end of the day, you want your consequences to matter so you can get buy-in from your audience so they'll care when things happen. Still, though, with all that being said, I think I'm going to put it into A tier. I think it's going to go right in the middle of A tier. Next up, Dorohedoro, another anime remake of an older anime, an older manga. This anime was also featured in our Samurai anime tier list, and if you watch that, you'll know that I absolutely love this anime. It is dark, it is gritty, is this dark adventure fantasy, and it makes you freaking feel things. The story follows a samurai who was born with no limbs that have all been replaced by freaking swords. They were born this way because their father made a pact with a demon to become the strongest warrior in the world, and this was his price, the sacrifice of his son's limbs. It's gotta go into A tier for me. Just be aware that, like, this anime will make you feel some freaking strong emotions, so don't watch it if you're not down for that. Next up, we have Garo. This anime is a bit of a cluster, I will say. It is an anime that tries very hard to be mature, and I think that sometimes it just doesn't work. This is another kind of like fantasy adventure anime. Story follows a father-son duo who belong to this group known as the Makai Knights, a group of warriors who slay evil monsters that plague this land. Again, this anime is alright, its visuals are fine. I think that it really suffers from trying to be like mature and do these mature themes, but it just does it not very well at times. Yeah, I'm not really exactly sure what this anime is. I wasn't overly invested into the story. The characters didn't really, grip me into the story in any way. I think it goes in C tier. It's not bad. It's nice to look at, and the story isn't horrible, and the characters aren't horrible. It just overall, I think, leaves a lot to be desired. Oh, goodness, yes. Next up, we have God of High School. Literally, I think the epitome of all flash, no substance. God of High School is one of the most, like, absurd animes to look at. Visually, it is absolutely stunning. I think that this anime really is the poster child for, like, all flash, all style, no substance. It's basically like Tournament Arc, the anime, and it draws in, like, a bunch of themes from, like, the, Sun Wukong ancient stories from China. Our main character looks like he was pulled straight out of Digimon, and again, it is Tournament Arc, the anime. I will say, though, that the early episodes of this show, in my opinion, are the best. I do enjoy a lot of the fight scenes. I mean, it's kind of hard not to if you like fight scenes, and I love how accurate, at least at the beginning, a lot of the fight scenes are in terms of how they represent martial arts in our world. That being said, though, this anime goes completely off the rails later on in the story, and it turns into this absurd power fantasy. You watch this anime to turn your brain off and watch cool fight scenes, not for the story, not for the characters, and that's it. I'm gonna put it in C tier. Next up, we have Gymnastic Samurai, another sports anime that Mappa has made, an anime about Gymnastics. Now, I actually really enjoyed this anime. I thought it was a unique kind of approach to telling a kind of a sports anime story. The story follows a world-class gymnast who is on the Japanese national Olympic team, but suffers a shoulder injury shortly after the death of his wife. This injury stifles his career as we transport 5 years later on, and he is on the verge of retirement until a chance encounter happens. I enjoyed this anime. I thought it was pretty solid. I do enjoy me a good sports anime, and I like a unique sports anime, an anime about a sport like gymnastics that's not often covered in kind of the major sports animes. I think I'm gonna give it a B. I mean, there was stuff about it that like you could easily critique, but overall I liked a lot of the characters. I liked the story. It hit all of the tropes that like a sports anime is supposed to hit. And visually, it looked great because Mappa. Next up, we have maybe one of the more divisive animes. I've seen a lot of people like this anime and a lot of people shit on this anime. Kakegurui, aka the gambling anime. When it comes to the art and music departments, this anime absolutely hits it out of the park. Where I think where it really maybe lets it down is in some of the story and character work that I think you can really critique. The story follows a young transfer student at an academy that has a secret gambling den and underground world that takes place in this school. Now again, I enjoyed this anime, but I do think that it has some rather glaring issues. Like for a gambling anime, it doesn't really do a great job of actually being a gambling anime. The anime tries to create the illusion of constantly high stakes, but these stakes never really feel like realized. And sometimes I feel like it falls into the trap of like, lol, main character wins. In general, I do think the anime is still fun. It is a unique take on this kind of game anime, which was really popular for like a few years there. I think it goes into B tier for me. Oh god, next up we have another hot piece of trash, Listeners. This instantly goes into D tier for me. We'll put it in the top of D tier, I guess. Like there's no compelling story. There's no like really noteworthy characters. Yes, visually it's nice to look at, but ultimately this anime tries to revolve itself around like musical references and making reference to like classic music from, you know, like the past, like Pink Floyd's The Wall and Nirvana's Smell Like Teen Spirit, or like a number of Jimi Hendrix songs. But like at the end of the day, if you're like deep into like music, if you're a music nerd, then this show just really falls flat. I think in general, this show just really falls flat, in my opinion. I'm sure this was made for like a very specific type of like audience somewhere, but that ain't me. Next up, we have a Punchline. Now, Punchline is a very interesting anime. It has one of the most like absurd premises, absurd episode one of like any anime ever. I don't even think I could do it justice by trying to explain to you what it is. I highly recommend just going and watching this episode. Now, I only watched like 3 episodes of this anime and then instantly was like, this is too much for me. Like, this is way too much. It's going on. I just can't buy into this premise. However, though, I've heard a lot of people, especially in reviews for this show, say that if you can make it through the first like 4 or 5 episodes, this anime is great and it has amazing payoff. Personally, I cannot speak to that. Like I said, I've only made it a couple episodes in because the pure premise of this show is just absolutely absurd. With that being said, though, I may go back and force myself to watch this entire anime, not like it's that long in general, to actually see if it is actually worth paying off. In general, though, I think I gotta put this in C? Oh, man. Unfortunately, actually, I think it has to go into D tier. I mean, if I couldn't even finish it because I couldn't have any buy-in for the anime, I feel like that speaks a lot to how actually good the show is. So not very. Again, though, I'll go back and rewatch it and we'll see if this opinion holds true. Next up, we have Rage of Bahamut, which came out in 2014. 2014, by the way, was a really good year for Mappa. In my opinion, some of their visually best work came from a lot of animes from 2014, and Rage of Bahamut is absolutely amazing to look at, in my opinion. Rage of Bahamut is this kind of fun fantasy adventure-esque story. It is a retelling of the Joan of Arc legend, as well. It features the dragon Bahamut, a deity in the Dungeons and Dragons lore, though a kind of different entity in this world. As well, this anime really kind of copies the kind of Samurai Champloo trio of main characters, two of them being bounty hunters, Favaro Leone, who is being hunted by the other main character, Kaiser Lidford, which kind of enshrines their relationship, very similar to the relationship between the main characters in Samurai Champloo, which I love. I think this anime is really fun. I think that it's pretty good. I think that they did this kind of trio of characters, like the Samurai Champloo trio, and how they relate to one another very well. It is a awesome fantasy story. Some of the plot does feel like it could have been fleshed out more, but overall, I think that it's pretty solid. Maybe I'm just biased on this, but I actually really enjoy Rage of Bahamut. Definitely season 1 as well. I think that it's gonna go, where do we rank it? I think that it's going into B tier for me. Hell, I'm even gonna put it in the top of B tier for now. We'll see if it stays there, but I actually do enjoy this show. Not everyone does, but I actually did enjoy it a lot. Oh yes, next up we have one of my actual favorite anime of all time, Hajime no Ippo Rising, the second installment in the Hajime no Ippo story. Instantly, this anime goes into S tier. Hajime no Ippo is a sports anime about boxing, one of the best sports anime in my opinion of all time. I did a whole video about Hajime no Ippo and why I love it and all the things that I love about it. If you're interested in that, I'll put that up here for you to click on. Ultimately, I absolutely love this anime and everything about it. It's one of my favorite sports anime of all time. Its details and the intricacy of how it portrays boxing is absolutely amazing. I used to do boxing for a long time, so of course I'm going to love this anime, but I'm not joking when I say that it is one of the best sports anime of all time, in my opinion. Yeah, I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that the source material is really, really good. Obviously, the Mappa animations are pretty solid. Yeah, I definitely recommend Hajime no Ippo, not just Hajime no Ippo Rising, the Mappa work, but just Hajime no Ippo in general. Oh god, not this anime. Next up, we have Teekyu, a fan service tennis anime. Now, if it could have just been a tennis anime, I could have been on board. I love sports anime, I love tennis, but no. Just no. It's a fan service anime. It's got a bunch of small girls. It's not for me. It's no. It's D tier. Moving on to something much better, we have Terror Residence, another anime from 2014, another Mappa anime with amazing visuals. Again, 2014 was a great year for animation. This is a psychological detective drama. The story follows two mysterious boys, 9 and 12, who are responsible for terror attacks all over Japan. It is a mystery thriller in the kind of Death Note, Code Geass kind of vein, though, however, it does fail to live up to the lofty heights of many of the best kind of psychological detective dramas. It is still good, though. I think that it is solid. It gives me a lot of kind of Be the Beginning vibes in a lot of kind of like its tropes and in the story. And overall, I think it's pretty good. It's got to go into upper B tier for me. I think I'm going to put it like right here probably for now. Again, it's absolutely amazing to look at. I really enjoy the story and I love this genre. I think it could have been executed better, but I think that it is pretty good. Oh boy, next up we got another heavy hitter, Vinland Saga Season 2. This instantly, I think, has to go in the top of S tier for me. I love Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga is amazing. Vinland Saga Season 2, though, is absolutely stunning. Again, I've done a couple of videos about Vinland Saga. I'll link one of them in the eye above if you want to see like my full long take on Vinland Saga and why I think Vinland Saga Season 2 is so good. A lot of people didn't realize that the first season of Vinland Saga is actually just a prequel for the upcoming season, and so there is a dramatic tone shift, a dramatic kind of, speed of pace of story that is told in Season 2. But I think that Mappa did this absolutely amazingly well. There's some insane series of animation that just go along with the really intense, deep, emotional story that is being told here, the emotional trauma that is taking place in our main character, Thorfinn's mind. And it's just great, bro. It's amazing. Vinland Saga Season 2 is one of my favorite seasons of any anime ever. I may be alone in thinking that, even though I believe this season did have insane ratings on Mal. I think it was like an 8.5 or some shit. It may have been even higher for all I know. Vinland Saga Season 2, very good. We're getting down to the end here. Next up, we have another sports anime, Yuri on Ice. I remember when this anime came out, it was insanely hyped. This is a sports ice skating anime. As well, I guess it technically is a romance anime. It follows a young man with big dreams, big ice skating dreams, who idolized a famous Russian singer. This sports anime does a lot of stuff that I really love about sports anime. One, it teaches you a bunch about the sport itself, and it makes a lot of references to real world people and real world things of these sports. The cast is extremely diverse. There is a ton of foreign characters, which is really, really cool. It does all the good stuff that I think sports anime does, but in a more kind of goofy setting, goofy story. Now, there is one thing about this anime I did find kind of weird, and that is the ambiguous nature of its male ex-male romance, which is kind of weird in my opinion. Part of me wondered if this wasn't a Yuri, an MXM romance, would it be as ambiguous as they're making it out to me? It almost feels disingenuous that they're having, a gay romance being the main romance on the screen that is this ambiguous. I don't know. Normally I don't care about these sort of things, but it felt kind of weird. Overall, though, good anime, aesthetically very pleasing. It's fun, it's quirky, it's weird. It goes into B tier for me. Next up, another kind of quirky comedy from Mappa, Zombieland Saga. Now, this anime is kind of a unique take on an idol anime. It incorporates really fun, cool, horror themes, which I absolutely love. It's an anime that follows an idol group made of zombies, made of the undead. It has this interesting kind of semi-critique on the Japanese idol industry, which is absolutely horrible if you didn't know, and I have to give, the writer props for this. Ultimately, though, I have to say the critiques of the idol industry within this anime do fall short, as this anime somehow evolves from being a kind of fun, quirky, poking fun at the idol industry, and then it just transforms itself into just another idol anime. For that, again, I think it's good. I think it's going to go into B tier, but maybe lower in B tier. We'll put it here for now. Moving on to our final two Mappa anime, I had to save the best for last. First off, we got Jujutsu Kaisen. Real quick, guys, I just want to say if you are enjoying the video, then please why don't you like, comment, and subscribe, as it is your guys' support that allows me to continue to make these videos. Okay, let's get right back to the tier list. Now, where do we start with Jujutsu Kaisen? Again, it has a lot of these same themes, these kind of edgy, shonen, adult-esque themes. The show is extremely violent. It has crazy animations. A lot of these similar things to Chainsaw Man, to Attack on Titan, obviously to Hell's Paradise, though I do have to say Jujutsu Kaisen does a better job than, let's say, Hell's Paradise in executing all of these themes. Now, I do think that this anime is a bit overhyped. Yes, it is good. I actually think that Season 2 is probably better than Season 1, but I mean, if you've read the manga and you know the full story of Season 2, you'd probably believe me and agree with me, because the story is absolutely wild. I think that it does a good job of making you actually care about its characters, something that I thought and I worried at first that it was going to struggle with, but ultimately I do think that it manages to do this very, very well. And there's not really a lot I can say about Jujutsu Kaisen that hasn't already been said by the many people who hype it up and say it's one of the best anime of all time. I don't think that it's that. It is very good. I'm not going to go that far. I don't think that it's the, best shonen of all time. I don't think that it's revolutionized the, the shonen genre. If any anime has really done that, let's be honest, it's Attack on Titan. That being said, though, Jujutsu Kaisen is extremely good. The question, though, is where do we rank it? I think if I would have made this tier list with only Season 1 being out, I think I would have put it into A tier. But the fact that Season 2 is out, and Season 2 is just so goddamn good, especially the last 5 episodes, I think that it's going to go into S tier. With that being said, we have finally done it. We have made it into the final Mappa anime of our tier list, Attack on Titan, The End. Personally, I think that Mappa did an amazing job in adapting the end of Attack on Titan. I actually prefer a lot of the animation from Mappa to the original animation of Studio Wit. Not that anything is wrong with the Studio Wit animations, but overall, I mean, the quality of the Mappa animations is a lot higher. And when we talk about specifically the final chapter of Attack on Titan and just how epic and insane a lot of these scenes are, Mappa Studio was really one of the only studios who I think, it doesn't surprise me that they gave this to Mappa. This is like a perfect type of job, a perfect type of project for Mappa to work on. Again, I've done a full video on my thoughts on the end of Attack on Titan, my take on the interpretation of the ending of Attack on Titan, and what the future of Attack on Titan holds. So click that video if you want to know in detail my thoughts on the ending of Attack on Titan. I will say, though, that I think that they did a really, really good job of adapting, the final remaining chapters, the final saga of Attack on Titan into the anime form. I've read this entire entire manga, and though there are some changes overall, I think that they did a very good job of it in my opinion. My biggest critique was the fact that it took them so goddamn long to end this show, but overall, I mean, if you watch the two, hour-and-a-half specials back to back, it is an amazing, really emotional experience. Attack on Titan really changed the modern anime shonen industry, as a whole, and I think that they did an amazing job finally capping this show off, even though, let's be honest, guys, I can almost guarantee you that in a year or two, there will be an Attack on Titan spin-off or some kind of Attack on Titan sequel. With all that being said, though, Attack on Titan in the end also has to go into S tier. I think I'm going to put it above Hajime no Ippo, because it's just that goddamn epic, isn't it? And yes, here's our finalized Mappa tier list. Again, this is just my thoughts and opinions, so let me know yours in the comment section down below if you disagree with where I've ranked any of these. Sorry guys, but my camera died because I've been recording for well over an hour. Again, if you enjoyed the video or learned something new, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as your engagement with these videos helps to put them in the algorithm and helps to promote the channel. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then why don't you check out one of the videos on screen now. As always, hug your mother, drink your water. Until next time, peace, love, Adu.